I'm going to have to read some of it, but okay, so our experiment was the tools to assist self-service through videos, AutoKit and language. So we wanted to remove the confusion and anxiety for candidates that are filling in our registration and going through our process, but also then give time back to the branch, which will help with productivity and get more money. So we said what the problem was the anxiety and losing people on the registration process because they wasn't sure how to complete it, or they were leaving halfway through and not coming back to it. What we wanted to do is find out the capability, the competency and the time through technology, if we could do that, and resolve our candidate challenges. So instead of them completing something and then calling us to check that it's okay, do sort of more of a walk me through guide on there, and also send them sort of like reminders, things through their email so that they go back to it. So it's initiative and educational onboarding on the ongoing process. Key assumptions to test, to see if it's a major problem to resolve it. So it could be quite a quick fix. It could be just putting a few more, hold on, not techie. Could be putting a few more things into the system where we're more engaging with our candidates and that our sort of communication is much better. It will save time in branch, conversion ratio should be good, improve candidate retention, and increase candidate attraction through what we wanted to do was a video to welcome everybody to Blue Arrow, but do that in different languages so it was more accessible. So the candidates that are struggling to fill it in, they can listen to it in their own language and understand what they need to do, or their first language. We would need key stakeholders in IT, implementation, and also candidates to check it and ops to have their input. Resources needed, full project scope from Eliza's teams, managed through Steerco calls, investigations through IT to see if they have the time and the team to do that, ops to nominate candidates and be involved in what will help them save time in branch, and marketing with the engagement. Are we all good?
Okay.
What are our assumptions you need to validate? So if it's worthwhile, if it will save time, if it will help our retention and attrition, and if it will reduce confusion and anxiety. Have I missed anything?
I think you did a great job.
Okay, so what are everyone's initial thoughts? Did it make sense? Want to quiz anything on there? Any additional thoughts?
I think the brilliant idea of changing the languages.
Yeah.
Because that is a common thing that people give up.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Okay. Okay. Quick one.
Amazing. Other feedback?
Have you thought
I
about?
think it's a good idea. Where I guess I've got a little bit of conflict at the moment is around, and this is more linked to other things we've been talking around, is around that right balance of technology versus personal contact. This is more around the technology, but however, if that's helping that people through, particularly that language point, then
That's the takeaway.
yeah, exactly.
And the thought was that by having these short videos, there'd be lots of different videos at different points the candidate could access, so they would come out automatically by various triggers that Martin's magic team would make happen. And then, even if the candidate didn't quite get it, then they'd be in the library, in the app. So everything is in one place, and then the candidate is in control of, right, I want to do this now, or I need a bit of a reminder. Whereas we were getting great feedback that we'd send them something by tech, and then they'd pick up the phone and ring the branch anyway to say, to help me with this. Whereas if they've got a person saying, like a walk me thing or a little video, it might make them feel they're in control, but they've actually still got the human element. Danielle suggested, branch people doing the videos, why not?
Yeah.
Make it real.
Yeah.
Videos in
That's
their own
a
language
really
as
good
well.
idea.
Absolutely.
Then straight away they're already starting to build that relationship with the consultant without realising it, if that makes sense.
And that helps them as well in that whole, where are they in the process, so they know what's coming next. Stuff would automatically come out. It is a dark art. And it went on to loads of other things further on in retention, didn't it, about possibly communicating to candidates, say if you took this training course, actually it might mean you could take these other jobs that we've had, particularly if we've got jobs we've got a lack of interest in, and we're just saying to candidate, please just take this, and all these options would be available to you. So that's where it could go to.
And in terms of your
Martin's gonna pass out.
your testing before you got to a full project scope, because that's when we've kind of got to a point where we know we want to do this, this is moving forward. What do you think that you might need to test absolutely first to determine whether this is a go or no go?
The critical matter of that is testing whether this actually is something the candidates want.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
Because we know we've got a challenging branch, we know we've got challenges with certain candidates, but actually if it doesn't move the dial enough, then that...
It's a lot of effort for not enough value, yeah. Okay, so yeah, so in terms of kind of our next test then, to think about the candidate population, be that via an interview or some other method to really home in on, and would this meet everyone's expectations, or is this a particular population, and where then should it be applied? Okay, any other insights? Okay, all right, on to the next pitch. Well done, thank you very much for that one.
Who's on next?
Martin, Phil.
Kate knows ours, and then they surely.
That's what I mean. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think we should. No.
So we obviously worked on the basis of, needing to know what's going on, basically. So again, it's about that 360 view for the candidate. So it's all around trust, transparency, giving the candidate control, so they're always in control. Insights, increasing fill rates, quality data integrity, so you increase the data integrity of the solution. Communication at each stage of the process, so it constantly gives them a status update in terms of where they are in the process. Description of the solution, so we've called it a candidate passport, but it's kind of a CV stroke profile that it dynamically builds up as you go. So as soon as people start getting, extra qualifications, extra certifications, compliance, wherever it happens to be, it starts to build up that particular profile, so you get a really rich profile of the candidate that we know is true and accurate and verified. So accumulates value, so the idea is it will accumulate value over time, so as it's built up more and more detail, that profile that the candidate's got becomes more and more valuable, so it's more accurate, you get more longevity of the career history and so on. Potential new revenue stream. In terms of technology, we'd look to build it on potentially blockchain, NFT type technology, so we know it's immutable, it can't be altered, it is a true representation for how it's live. Aim of experiment, what we're trying to find out, well, would the candidates use it? Would they see value in the solution for a start? What we could do, we're looking to increase the quality of the candidate pool, increase retention, because they're brought into this platform, they will stay with it, they can see the value of it in the return. Success metrics, we're going to create a test group, we'll select a bunch of candidates, we'll take them through kind of a working prototype, see how it's used and see how they actually use it. Method will be, we'll obviously engage with IT, build a prototype, probably across 100 candidates, get sign-off from legal, because obviously we're talking about people's data here, and probably do it across a 3-month pilot. But the idea, probably worth explaining.
That looks like your job science thing, Eliza.
So the idea is that the candidate basically gets this kind of personal dashboard. So everything feeds into this personal dashboard, whether it's the status that they're at in the process, skills and competencies that they're picking up along the way, potential other career options will feed into that. So it's starting to really engage them to say, right, why don't you try this career option next? They can update the job preferences in there, job app status, it tells them where they are in the application process, payment statuses, auto matching of jobs. We've also got this loyalty bonus, because basically the idea is that at the other end of the solution, the client will be able to choose which CVs they wanted to look at. So they would get the teaser in terms of like the anonymised version of the CV. But once they decided to look at that CV, they click on it, it charges them to look at the CV, but also the candidate then gets a kickback in terms of an incentive to make them remain engaged in the platform. What else do we have? It allows them to employ candidates directly. It gives them assurances from a client perspective that everything's going to be accurate, because obviously they've got that full history, full management of the recruitment process, in essence. So that's that. Key assumptions, candidate and clients will use it obviously, because if they don't use it, there's no point. And then stakeholders to engage with the IT, legal, marketing and finance and the commercials.
Can I just say, I think one of the things that I really like about this is it actually could solve potentially a number of other challenges that we have, because when you're collecting this level of data, once you get over the data challenge,
Yeah.
by collecting this data, it enables us to actually analyse other, their sentiments, what they want, their career, where they want to go, what they want to do, and actually feeds into some of the things that you guys were talking about as well in terms of, that career coaching element. There is, when we have that data and we use it effectively, it could create a number of other opportunities down the line. So I really like that element of your idea.
Well, the other thought we had was, once this becomes a platform, you can then start selling it out. So you've got second tiers potentially hanging off the back of it.
Yeah.
Potentially, even other agencies looking at getting involved in
Yeah.
second tiers.
Think about the principles of like a Netflix or the supermarkets where
Yeah.
they start to suggest things to you and films to watch, and you track your pizza being made and you know how far along it is.
Yep.
Automating all of that, but it belongs to us, it doesn't belong to the candidate. So the value for the candidate is completely linked
Loyalty.
with staying with
Yeah.
us. They can't take it with them. It's their information, but it belongs to us. So they accrue value over time as their CV is constructed based on absolute fact, because it's automatically built. And multiple people have it.
Great. Anyone else? Any questions? Additional thoughts to share?
I think it's a very clever retention tool,
Mm.
and the ownership of it is right in that sweet spot, exactly how we want it, in a way that we don't own any of that candidate data right now. We're just free to go with them as they see, or we don't collect it in such a way. So I think it's a really clever idea. Yeah, it's really good.
Well done, guys. I think we're doing well enough for time, actually, that you might be here for the pitch at least.
Go on, lad. So actually we need to revisit our persona, if you remember, was the international students that are high tech savvy, only available for limited number of hours, but they are already really comfortable with making big life decisions based on what they research and find from the internet. So what we then started to look at was some of our and the other thing is that they're very interested in reputable brands, high-end brands, or those specific reputable brands. So our idea was to actually build brand-specific competencies within job sites, and that would be like Waitrose, Tesco, John Lewis. They would actually be the brand name. So the idea of that was to enable us to have faster speed for fulfilment, because it would be purely transactional, particularly for candidates that had already worked at, say, Waitrose as an example. They could go completely self-fulfilment through a system through a platform option. Clearly you'd have to have a different routine for your work-ready candidates that have not worked before, and then again a slightly different process for your candidates that were not work-ready, i.e. having a proof of right-to-work check. But certainly the idea was that, once they've been in, they're there, it's literally just self-fulfilling, self-transactional, self-automating. So we thought that the biggest thing that would do is that it would increase our fulfilment measures, has the potential for that, which we know is something that particular clients absolutely measure us on. And one of the challenges Rob was saying was that quite often you do the work, actually you then go to fill the booking, you find out it's already been filled. So it's about how do we get that speed out to the candidate quicker and that more transactional fulfilment. So that really is the description. So we automate that end-to-end fulfilment for specific client brands, particularly that would attract that type of persona. It increases the engagement as well between the client brand and the candidate loyalty. So already they're identifying that they're working for Waitrose rather than Blue Arrow. So we become just kind of the platform transaction element there. So really what we would try to find out is if it would increase fulfilment rates. So we need to do some really clear data analysis on what our current rates are. We need to be confident on the data, or certainly what we measure and how we take that forward. We also would need to look at, would that give us candidate retention, again, particularly for those areas, for clients that are looking for that specific brand. And also one of the big things was to reduce that spend outside of Impellam currently. Again, you take a Waitrose as an example. Yep. So our key assumptions is there has to be client appetite, because we do recognise that to some extent we might be diluting the relationship, but however on discussion with that we felt that really that measure of fulfilment is so fundamental. What the client is looking for is our speed. How do we attract those candidates quickly and get them in? So we felt that probably actually would be there, rather than it would be seen as a hindrance, because the relationships are built actually with other areas. Again, if I take Tesco's, Karen, that's more with the finance regional teams, rather than kind of that on the ground fulfilment. So that's a key measure. We'd have to have available resource, because this will touch across many departments, many teams, and the reason it touches across many departments is around the fact that we currently pay our people for induction. So again, our process, the way that we would automate, we'd want to automate and push out that induction programme as well, so we're getting those people quite ready. So we just need to understand a little bit more about that. And also really the key assumption that we've got based on our persona is that there is absolute appetite from the candidate to self-serve. Again, I think we know that from Tony's feedback has been from the survey. So in terms of our success measures or metrics, is increase our fulfilment percentage, so we take that as the benchmark initially, and we reduced application attrition, so i.e. we reduce the fallout of people interacting, because there's more of a, there's something there immediate for them to gain, particularly once they go through that process a second time, i.e. they're going to apply. Quite a lot of stakeholders to engage. We need to be engaged with national accounts, guidance, certainly for the clients that we talked about. As I said, Tesco's, Waitrose, so we need client engagement as well. Legal, just to understand this implication around pay. Business change and CIT, product team 1. Going to get away, Martin. Our candidates as well, we would want to pilot and get a bit of their engagement. Indeed, the UAT probably based on that persona we will target. We're not sure if the customer office would be a stakeholder. That's something we need to identify, potentially with guidance that may be, but also universities. It's that again, the beginning of the journey. We're tapping into those people much earlier on rather than they're already in situ. Marketing and business operations as well. So in terms of our methods, the first thing we need to understand is our data analysis. We can do that fairly immediately, and that's our immediate next step actually, because we've got to look at where's the potential for the opportunity, what's the fulfilment rate, do we have areas where it's kind of higher or lower in particular areas, and again we look at that across our candidate data analysis as well. We need to properly scope the requirements, submit those requirements, build and test, and then launch potentially with a pilot first before we go. That's it.
Excellent. Well done. Thank you very much. Any thoughts, questions in regards to this idea?
It links directly to the feedback we've had from the candidates and the feedback from the marketing exercise that we went through with Tony. So it's in that sweet spot that we need to absolutely look at as a priority.
Yeah, I agree. I know it's reaching the end of the day, it's hard to keep the cogs going, isn't
I
it?
feel like I'm packing up my bags. Packing the picnic into my bag.